Okay, we are in the backing by odds tab, and before I start fiddling around with figures, I will just quickly show you the layout of this particular tab. Again, it's very similar to the backing by team tab in that we have all of the betting types running across the page like this. You can see here the three toggles are replicated, but these are fixed and you cannot amend these figures. As you can see by the legend here, these figures will automatically change when you change the figures in the backing by team tab. So let's just demonstrate that by changing the stake in the backing by team tab to 200 and going into the backing by odds. It's automatically updated it here. Okay, I have changed the stake back to 100 units just so that we have the same 5303 total down the bottom here. The home odds clusters, like the draw odds clusters and the away odds clusters, have been split into groups of roughly even size. So each cluster of odds has roughly the same number of games in it. The useful thing about clustering the results together into similar groups is that you can see fairly easily where the profits and the losses accumulate in each type of bet. So I'm just looking for a likely candidate, and the draw odds clusters shows a very good example. So if we just highlight that whole tranche of odds there, we can see that at odds of greater than 2.19, so in other words 2.2, and up to odds of less than or equal to 2.39, so that's 2.2 to 2.39, we can see that we have every season in profit. If you would like to add these figures up, but I can see from my naked eye that each of these seasons creates quite a healthy profit. Adding together the totals in this particular block of odds gives you a grand figure of 7,224 units profit, which is a significant improvement on the whole 5303 units. And this is the beauty of being able to filter results to produce a much healthier position. So in this case, at odds of 220 for the draw, up to draw odds of 2.39, when backing the home team to win, we can filter out all of the other odds and all of the other matches and produce a figure which is almost 2,000 units greater than the total sum of profit in this particular bet type. What we have also achieved by filtering is an improvement on the hit rate. So just looking again at this profit sector here, if we add up all of the games, we come to a grand total of 333, of which 133 are winning bets, which is a 40% hit rate. Dropping down here to the total for this particular bet type, we have 705 matches, 258 winning, and the hit rate is therefore 36.5%. One thing to say before we move on is that the half-time market especially is quite tricky to split into even groups of matches, and you will see in this particular table, which is a classic example, we have a big section of the table here where there are no odds and no matches applicable. That's purely because the bookmakers tend to enjoy round numbers when applying half-time draw odds. So for example, we have 154 matches in this particular odds cluster, which is greater than 2.09 but less than or equal to 2.1. So in other words, we're looking at odds of 2.1 with 154 games. Similarly, we have the 224 to 225, so in other words, odds of 225. We have 84 matches which were priced at 225 for the draw, and again 229 we have 55 games, so it's quite difficult to split the draw result, especially into equal sized clusters. It's a little bit better in the full-time market, but in the half-time market you will certainly experience fewer clusters. Right, I'm now going to demonstrate how to calculate the inflection points of any of the bet types. In other words, the point in the odds at which profits turn to losses or losses turn to profits. In other words, the watershed point. In order to do that, we're going to need to amend some of the information in this table, so we'll need to unlock this tab, going to the legal tab, which contains all the passwords. The backing by odds password is capital B, small b, capital O, at capital S, capital W for Soccerwidow 2014. So we will just enter that. Okay, we've unlocked the sheet, and I think what we will look at is the away odds clusters, as they seem to contain fairly even numbers of matches in each of the odds cluster groups. So for the inflection point exercise, what we need to do is just create two groups of clusters. So we'll try and put the losses in one and the profits in the other. The top and the bottom clusters are fixed, so we can't change those, so we'll leave the one below and the one above unaltered, and we will blank out the rest of the table by entering odds of, say, 100, where we know there are no games. So I'm just going to quickly input 100 in there, and similarly on the other side as well, and that will blank the table out and leave us just with the bottom two clusters and the top two clusters. Everything else in the middle is 0. And now it's just a question of trial and error to see which odds produce the largest profit and which odds produce the largest deficit. If you remember earlier, our total for this bet type is 5305, so we're going to try and match that figure here by manipulating the odds slightly. So let's just put in 4, see what effect that has. So immediately that's worsened the position. 5 makes it a little bit better, and we know from below that the starting point are odds of 6. So if we type in 6 here, we should be back to 5303. So that encapsulates all the games back to 705 games, 258 wins. And this is a very simplified version of finding inflection points in any of the betting tables. So scrolling up, what we have achieved by filtering and finding the inflection points in this particular table is that by adding these two figures together, we come to the sum of 6,431 units. Of course, the total for the entire bet type is 5303, so we have improved the position with this exercise by a total of 1,100 units. And effectively we are backing the home team to win when the away odds are anything up to and including 6. If we look at the games played and the number of victories, adding them up, we end up with 630 games and 228 wins, which gives you a hit rate of 36.2%. So it's almost identical with the hit rate for the entire bet type, but we are reducing the number of bets that we need to place by a total of 75, and we are also increasing the bottom line by more than 20%. So that's just about it for this particular video. We use these tables for all of our own betting portfolios, and there are just so many things you can do with these tables that they are so useful in identifying the profitable areas of any bet type and turning them into even more profitable areas by filtering out the results that only lead to losses. In the next video, we will be looking at the backing by ratios tab, followed by the quick stats tab, and then a brief guided tour around the data tab. So until then, thank you very much for watching.